Hello, BookTube. I've got a little Tuesday mail for you. I realize that in this particular setup, there's no chance you'll see Frida, but there's also no necessity for me to wrestle with the lighting either. And besides, the Bean and I just went out for a little stroll, and it's kind of warm outside, so she is beat. She was not going to be in the video anyway. But we only have 3 packages to go to, so this should not take long. And the third of the packages is a huge box. So, and it looks a little bit unconventional. It doesn't feel like a publisher box. I hope it's not another present from one of you, because those are getting a little out of hand. Let's start with this first one. Let's see what we have here. Okay, this is from the folks at Yale University Press. Okay, this is an October book. It's by Clarissa Campbell Orr, and it is called Mrs. Delaney. A Life of Mrs. Delaney. Pretty thing. The first comprehensive biography of Mary Granville Delaney, the artist and court insider whose wide-ranging legacy reverberates today. Mary Granville Delaney is best remembered for her paper collages of flora, the majority of which are at the British Museum. This captivating new biography pulls back the lens to place Delaney's artistic creation in the broader context of her family life, relationships with royalty, and links to early feminist debates on marriage. Oh my God, I'm interested already. A comprehensive work written for a general audience, this life provides rich details of the era, including Delaney's many friendships with prominent figures such as Methodist leader John Wesley, composer George Frederick Handel, and England's leading patron of science, Margaret, the second Duchess of Portland. Clarissa Campbell Orr is a noted authority on the 18th century court and queenship, and this volume restores Delaney to her proper place in the era's aristocratic society, revealing her as far more than the apparently poor, genteel widow befriended by George III and Queen Charlotte. She's only been a footnote in books that I've read about Georgian society. I confess, I've never read, nor ever imagined I would read a biography, a whole-length biography. Fantastic. Okay, this comes out in September. It reminds me of last year when the not only was there a bumper crop of biographies, but they were odd. They were not the normal run of giant, biographical subjects that I have come to expect. Instead, I had biographies leaping at me from all sides, and I loved it. And this seems like a throwback to that. All right, let's try this. Let's try this next one. We're off to a fine start. A big biography is my favorite kind of reading, and the fact that I don't know anything about the person makes it all the better. Just all the better. So what is this? Oh, okay, all right. We're at 2 biographies here. This is strict on sale for July the 9th. I think that's the second Tuesday in July. I think we've seen this already, but this is the finished copy. This is Stephen Gillen's book, America's Reluctant Prince. It is a biography of John F. Kennedy Jr. And it's embargoed for the 9th. I got a copy extra early and read it and really liked it. I am a tough critic to please with books about the Kennedys. They elicit so much garbage, and this is not that. This is actually one of 2 books on John F. Kennedy in 2019 that are quite good. The other one I don't know if we've seen on this channel. It's called Four Friends. I'll get to it eventually. I'll tell you about it eventually, but it's really good. Not only about him. This is only about JFK Jr. So let's see here. Through the lens of their decades-long friendship and including 54 exclusive interviews, including close friends Sasha Chamanoff, Pat Minaccia, Gary Ginsberg, Rose Marie Terenzio, George Magazine co-founder Michael Berman, Secret Service agent Clint Hill, former President Bill Clinton, and ex-girlfriend Julie Baker, as well as details from previously classified documents. Noted historian and New York Times best-selling author Steve Gillen examines John F. Kennedy Jr.'s life and legacy from before his birth to the day he died. The author covers the highs and lows and the surprising stories, viewpoints, and relationships John never shared publicly, revealing the full story behind his complicated and rich legacy. In the end, he proves that John's life was far more than another tragedy. Rather, it's true key to understanding both the Kennedy legacy and how America's first family continues to shape the world we live in today. there are parts of that description. I will write a whole review of this book, but there are parts of that single paragraph description that that bode well for the book, and there are parts that bode poorly. The beginning part, where it mentions the decades-long friendship of the author and the subject, is in this case not a weakness but a strength of the book, and that that business about how the Kennedy family continues to shape American life today is maybe I will write a review, and then I will expound my thoughts in detail. But that, in any book about any Kennedy, tends to betoken what's bad about the book, because that's the kind of thing you have to say in order to please the Kennedy family, in order to get the book off the ground in the first place. So that business, if you read a Kennedy book, especially about the next generation, the new generation of Kennedys, and there's a reference to the impact that they're having on American society, you have to be suspicious. Regardless of the heartfelt nature of this particular book, you have to be suspicious. If you're an American citizen today, can you name a Kennedy who's alive? And can you tell me what they do? Can you tell me if there are any Kennedys in public office? My guess would be that you can't. And the reason for that is because they don't have much of an effect on American society anymore. They did, once upon a time, have a huge effect. But not anymore, and that might change in the future. But the one interested group in any Kennedy biography that is going to claim steadfastly that the influence of the Kennedy family on American society is unabated is the Kennedy family. So you have to take that with a grain of salt and just work around it. But the book was tremendously moving. It was tremendously moving, and I tried my best to disassociate that from my willingness to be moved by it, which I admit is there. I know I know quite a bit about the subject, and I approve of the book. So that I will. I mean, that's the short form. I will write a review and go into it in depth in July. But the next thing that we have here is a box. It's a big fat box. You can't really see it. You wouldn't be able to see it on any mail setup. And like I said, it does not strike me as a normal type of thing. It's sealed all around, and that is usually something that one of you does. Publishers don't tend to do this because they're old pros, and they know that they don't need to. That you don't need to pack a book for Mars if it's going to make a plane. Let's see. Let's try to disassemble this somehow. I have a very eager bean. She's suddenly come to life. She has sprung to life to get a look at this box. She really wants this box. You want this box, baby bean. You can't have any of the padding. The padding is probably pure asbestos. But let's get you the box. Do you want the box? So what have we got here? This is a gift from one of you. I'm gonna be very stern. Oh no! Oh! Oh no! It's not a gift from one of you. It's a gift from me to me. Oh man! Fantastic! Oh great! This is something I've actually mentioned on this channel before, and here it is. Oh wow! This is the Savage Sword of Conan Omnibus Volume 1. That I talked about it at the beginning of this year, forever and ever, saying that I wanted it. That Marvel recently got the rights to Conan back, and to celebrate, they started off the year with two enormous what is this, $125 omnibus volumes: The Savage Sword of Conan and Conan the Barbarian. They did a volume, an omnibus reprint volume of the first few issues of their Conan the Barbarian, which was their 4-color comic book of Conan that was out on newsstands with the rest of the comic books that they put out. And they also did, at the exact same time, they did a $125 volume of the first 2 issues of Savage Sword of Conan, which was a black and white, larger magazine format thing that could get around some of the strictures of the comics code and maybe, have more explicit sexuality, more gore, more suggestiveness just in general. And Savage Sword of Conan pulled in lots of great talent and had lots and lots of great stuff in addition to just the artwork and the writing. And I didn't know. There was no way in the world. I am such a spoiled creature of the reviewing world. There was no way in the world that I was going to buy those 2 volumes for $125 each, especially since I was in contact with the people at Marvel. And I was telling them, I have a venue set up that is all set and ready to let me write about these 2 omnibus volumes at great length. They're the volumes are $125 each brand new, and I can help to sell them. I used very explicitly mercantile terms so that the reps from Marvel that I was dealing with would understand what I was proposing. And they said, sure, we'll send you a copy of each, and they never did. And it just came down to, the editor in question for the venue in question is a sweetheart. It just came down to saying, look, I'm not going to go out and pay for these things. I'm just not going to do it. If anyone reading the article that I would have written about these 2 volumes would have wanted to buy both of them at full price. As far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for Marvel to send me those 2 volumes. That's just the way it works if you're a professional reviewer. They did not, so I did not. And I sort of cooled my jets on even wanting the volumes, and then recently I thought, well, you really do want at least the first few volumes. And then I thought, oh no, I want to make sure that I do want the volumes. I know the issues that are reprinted, but I don't know all the rest that they're doing. I don't know what they're deciding to reprint and what they're deciding not to from those original issues. And that makes a difference, because I want it all, and I don't want any filler. For that kind of money, I want it all, and I don't want any filler. So I looked around on YouTube and finally found a few comic book channels on YouTube that were willing that took you almost page by page through both of those omnibus volumes, so that I could actually see what it is that I would be getting. And boy, am I glad I did, because the Conan the Barbarian omnibus volume is like a fourth of it is black and white sketch pages and junk filler, in place of reprinting 5 more issues. It's just, whereas this volume, when the channels did walkthroughs of it, looked fantastic. It includes all the editorial material, all of the essays, all of the nonfiction stuff that Roy Thomas wrote about the Conan age and about Robert E. Howard, and all of the backup stories in the Savage Tales issues where Conan originally tried out. That is fantastic that would be in there. It's not they tried him out in Savage Tales. They gave him a whole bunch of stories in Savage Tales, along with a whole bunch of other stories in those magazines, and you get the whole magazine, not just the Conan thing. So the walkthrough of this volume showed me right away that I did want it, that I absolutely did want it. And when I went from those channels to look around online and found it for half the price. No reason at all to pay $125 for this thing new. I would have been happy to help Marvel to sell it at that price. But if they're going to look a gift horse in the mouth, this did not get any mainstream review attention at all. It was only through industry journals. And even then, I have heard from many, many, many people that the Marvel business sense is sort of poor these days. Sort of poor, sort of insular, sort of entitled. I had no first-hand proof until that whole thing. Not that I'm ice cold on the subject forever. The next time they come out with a volume that I really want to review, I will certainly email them. I'll certainly ask them. Here are my stats. Here's my publication history. Here is the audience that I have. Can I have a review copy of this book? We'll see. But in the meantime, I have this thing, and that is fantastic. That is fantastic. Oh boy, I'm going to have so much fun paging through this. Fantastic. Okay. All right. Well, and I also like the alternate cover. This was not the bookstore cover. This was the alternate cover. Great. Okay. Well, this was a fairly good mail haul then. So we have Savage Sword of Conan, Volume 1, Omnibus. The original Marvel years of Savage Sword of Conan. Then we have America's Reluctant Prince, a forthcoming book about John F. Kennedy Jr., and Mrs. Delaney, the first, I would imagine, full-length biography of Mary Granville Delaney, whose pressed flowers in the British Museum I have never seen. So there you go. That is our first mail haul of the day. I have a feeling that there's more mail coming. I think, if I'm right about that, then you'll be the first to know. But I'm perfectly happy with the haul that I have right here on my lap. So I'm going to go help the bean with this box, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.